Studio is חיליק, a member of the Israeli parliament for the opposition Labour Party. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Now, what do you make of the current ground operation, and do you think Israel should have done anything differently?
No, actually we waited, some people say too long, with the ground operation. The opposition understood, like the coalition, that we have no other choice but to get in order to take care of these tunnels that from inside of them they are launching hundreds and thousands, actually almost 2,000 rockets in less than 2 weeks. And believe me, I think that the entire government and the opposition would be happy to continue to attack from the air or from the sea and not to put in danger our soldiers, but we have no other choice. If, again, we want not to hurt civilians in Gaza or to create a massive damage, and we don't want that.
So you're saying that the opposition supports Netanyahu's decision 100%?
Netanyahu and the IDF, yeah, until that point, definitely.
And Mr. Cajrami, I'm curious, does the Palestinian Authority put blame on Hamas for this?
No, we don't want Hamas to launch rockets against Israel, but the last operation, the last war, we see that the Israelis they started it because of accusing Hamas of the kidnapping and murdering the 3 Israeli kids in Hebron. And until this moment, the Israelis didn't arrest these people who are responsible for this operation, and the Hamas leadership.
But they are looking for them, correct?
Yes,
they're still at large.
But Hamas leadership denied any responsibility of Hamas of this operation. So the Palestinian Authority said, and President Mahmoud Abbas, until there is a proof that Hamas leadership is responsible and there was a decision from Hamas leadership to do this operation, we cannot blame Hamas. Because after that, the Israelis invaded some places in the West Bank, and after that, the attacks in Gaza Strip and the rockets. Even the first 3 days, Hamas didn't launch any rocket against the Israelis.
That's not true, of course.
It is true.
I want to remind you, Ashraf, that also before kidnapping and killing brutally our 3 boys, Hamas and other organizations in Gaza did launch, not in this capacity, rockets, but just launching rockets, it's not the thing. Hamas supported the kidnapping, said that they should kidnap more, and right now the situation is that we have a terror organization that I know that even you don't like them, that manage and have his own state, and this situation cannot happen.
Now, I'm curious to know what the British Army's reaction would be to this, all these events.
Well, the reality, of course, is that Hamas have been carrying out rocket attacks against Israel for many months now. And Israel has shown, in my opinion, in my professional opinion as a former British soldier, have shown extraordinary restraint in not moving in much greater force to deal with the threat of rockets being thrown indiscriminately at their civilian population.
How would they react?
They would react, well, I can tell you how they reacted when it happened to them. We had rockets fired at us once, and that was in 1944. And we reacted by sending 600 bombers to destroy the workshops that were manufacturing them. And we then dropped 2,000 tons of explosives on the launch sites. We didn't pay any attention to civilian casualties then. The important thing was that we stopped the rockets coming in and killing our people. Obviously, it's different circumstances, and it's quite right that Israel should do what it's doing, which is to show extraordinary restraint in attacking the Palestinian Hamas terrorists who are carrying out rocket attacks against their civilian population. They are showing restraint. They're showing great restraint. They're showing more restraint, in my view, than any other armed force has ever shown. But we mustn't forget what Hamas is trying to achieve here. They're trying to do, and they're succeeding, by the way. They're trying to get people like Ban Ki-moon, the President of the United States, to condemn Israel for being too violent in its reaction. They're trying to get this kind of world condemnation and stir hate up against Israel. This is part of their plan by using human shields to protect their rocket launch systems. There's no question of who started this. It's not Israel. It's nothing to do with the 3 kidnapped boys. This is an act of aggression, a continuing act of aggression by Hamas. That is the fact. Whether anyone says anything different is immaterial. That is the fact.
And how would you respond to that?
I think that they ignore the the reason of the violence here, because the main reason of violence is the occupation of the Palestinian territories. When the Israelis did one-sided withdrawal from Gaza Strip, they strengthened Hamas movement in Gaza, and they contribute to this atmosphere and the situation in Gaza Strip.
But the people elected Hamas.
Yes, of course, because after the one-sided withdrawal from Gaza Strip, people thought that Hamas, with its resistance, gained Gaza Strip and made the Israelis withdraw one-sided from Gaza Strip. And unfortunately, we begged the Prime Minister at that time, Ariel Sharon, to do it as a part of agreement with the Palestinian Authority, and to do it gradually that the Palestinian Authority can control the situation in Gaza Strip. They didn't want to hear us, they didn't want to cooperate with us, and they caused this strong Hamas and Al-Jihad Islamic movement in Gaza Strip, and this situation of violence. We wanted to do it as a part of the peace process that must be continued in the West Bank, and we can reach the two-state solution. Without reaching a peaceful solution, this violence will remain and follow us all the time. This is the main point. Until this moment, even the Israelis, if they invade Gaza Strip, the IDF invades Gaza Strip and stand everywhere, the violence will remain.
But I'm intrigued as to know why you support Hamas rocket fire, because you said you don't blame Hamas, and not blaming Hamas is supporting Hamas.
Believe me, they're blaming Hamas. I just can't say it because allow me, Ashraf, just to say a few words. First, I agree with Ashraf about one thing. Two-state solution is the only solution that will be good for Israel and for the Palestinian people, Hamas, and definitely the Fatah. But Hamas have to take the decision that Fatah took many years ago, and this is not to make a violent resistance against Israel, but make it in a dialogue. Ashraf knows very well that I'm very active in a dialogue with Abu Mazen and dialogue with the Palestinian Authority, because this is the only way to negotiate. But Hamas is not there. Hamas got the Gaza Strip, and by the way, I didn't support the disengagement. I thought that the Hamas shouldn't get it, but he get it to manage it for the benefit of the people. Look what he did in numbers. Just in the last 2 weeks, 1,900 rockets. In less than 15 years, 170 rockets on Israeli civilian targets. 800,000 tons of cement were used not to build schools or mosques or hospitals, but to build tunnels in order to do just one simple thing, be able to launch one or two successful attempts to kill and butcher Israeli children, and they did it before. Tens of millions of dollars that they got from a lot of the Gulf country and Qatar's. What did they do with everything? They invested it not in the citizens, but in terror and in aim to kill the Israeli people. And this is why we understand what President Abu Mazen needs to understand, is that Hamas is not a partner for peace. If Hamas want to invest in Gaza, want to make their life better, we can help him. Dismantle yourself from the rockets, dismantle yourself from power, be a partner to negotiation, and then maybe Israel will consider to talk to you as a legitimate party.
But you supply Hamas with oxygen all the time by killing civilians. If you see the situation in Gaza Strip, Hamas is a very higher...
we don't kill civilians. You heard our British colleague here telling you what other countries would have done before, and would have done probably if they would have thousands of rockets on their citizens. Believe me, I was in the IDF. I'm still an officer in the IDF. I'm telling you, the IDF is not aiming to kill civilian people.
More than 70% of the people who were killed in Gaza Strip are civilians.
Because the coward Hamas terrorist is hiding behind the citizens.
This is not reason to kill them.
No, what do you mean? When they shoot missiles from hospitals, from churches and mosques, from schools, from home of private people, what do you want Israel to do? Just let them launch rockets?
Ashraf, how are we supposed to deal with Hamas?
I think that if you want to deal with Hamas...
As militants, correction.
I don't know how to deal with this, because it is very difficult. The Israelis can't win this battle, and Hamas can't win this battle. We will return to the 0 point after this, and we will return to this point after maybe a few months or a few years, if there is no peaceful solution for this conflict. The violence will remain with us forever.
And Richard, back to the military perspective, how do you dismantle a terror group? Can you dismantle a terror group?
I think in this circumstance you can, but it's very, very costly. And I think
what would that involve?
If the IDF decided to go all the way right to the bitter end and to inch by inch to attack and destroy Hamas, then it could be done, but it would be a costly operation. We've experienced the same kind of fighting in Afghanistan, and you know what the outcome has been there. It's been a large number of casualties from the West, many, many more civilian casualties killed there than ever have been killed here, mostly by the Taliban.
In a 10-year war as well.
In a over 10-year war, which is far from over. They don't win the war. No,
yes.
You're right. They don't win the war, and ultimately, there's got to be if there's going to be an end to the slaughter, there has got to be some kind of force put on or pressure put onto Hamas to get them to stop what they're doing. Now, that pressure could come militarily, eventually, with a lot of cost, or it could come internationally, it could come from the diplomatic community. I think the biggest problem that we face is the insistence on the world community drawing some kind of moral equivalence between Israel and Hamas. We're talking about a Western liberal democracy here trying to defend itself, and a terrorist group designated by the European Union, by the United States and other countries in the world. We're talking about, and people condemning what Israel are doing. In my experience, as I mentioned earlier on, Israel are doing the best they can to minimize casualties. The only way this is going to stop is by Hamas stopping firing rockets.
But they can't make Hamas weaker. The problem is every time they supply Hamas with the support of the people, supply Hamas with the credibility in the Arab and the Muslim world, and they get money.
When
and
we
they
supply Hamas, Ashraf, Hamas is not part of our people, it's part of
you
your
can
people.
Isolate Hamas.
You should help us do it. Going to unity government with a terror organization and not dealing with Israel as a government who is not fighting Israel via terror, but via dialogue, this is unfortunately President Abu Mazen decided to do. You should throw Hamas from the government. No. You should come to us together with the Arab League and say we are talking with Israel over a dialogue, non-violent dialogue like Hamas. Hamas is not part of the game until he dismantles himself from terror, and then we will dismantle Hamas not only from its army capability, but also diplomatically and morally and theologically. And you can help us do it, but you don't have the strong will to do it. We wanted
this. President Mahmoud Abbas, when established the unity government with Hamas went towards Abu Mazen. Hamas accepted all Abu Mazen's conditions.
It's not true. They said it. They said it.
No.
They said
it is true. It is.
Did they accept the existence of Israel?
No. This is not.
Did they accept peaceful means
for
to talk with Israel?
No. We have Israeli parties who don't accept the existence of the Palestinian people, like the Jewish Home and others.
But they don't shoot rockets on you.
Okay. We want Hamas to be engaged and integrated in the Palestinian political leadership. And Hamas did a very positive step, because Hamas is very weak, and Hamas...
But it seems that Hamas doesn't want to be integrated.
They want, because they want legitimacy of President Mahmoud Abbas and the Arab world.
But they want salaries from the Palestinian Authority.
There is a problem in Gaza Strip after closing the tunnels between Egypt and Gaza Strip. Hamas in a very bad situation, because the major incomes from the tunnels and other support from Iran and other countries are stopped totally, and Hamas in a very bad situation. Because of that, Hamas became more moderate. Hamas went towards Abu Mazen. Hamas accepted all the conditions of Abu Mazen to be in this united...
You are not that naive to think that he became moderate by launching thousands of rockets, building more rockets capability,
You don't accept
invest
Hamas.
in tunnels
This is the
instead of the
problem.
people.
When Hamas
no,
goes
we will accept him when he will do what Fatah did many years ago. And this is to say, and what Abu Mazen, and I salute Abu Mazen for this, to say, we will not dialogue with Israel via rockets and via suicide bombers. We will make a peaceful dialogue. This is the true change
In
that
that
Hamas
regard, do you
needs to
find
do.
that Abbas is a true partner for peace?
I think that Abbas is a good partner for peace. He's not a perfect partner. He's not a great Zionist. Okay, he don't like us, but we don't want to make the perfect the enemy of the good. President Abu Mazen proved for 8 years that a non-violent resistance to Israel is made Ramallah a developed city that people can live fair life and negotiate with Israel and with other countries in the region toward two-state solution. We had a lot of achievement on the two-state solution. There is a lot of accords. I think that the future Palestinian-Israeli agreement is already written, 90% of it. This is a reason of many, many years of dialogue that President Olmert and President Barak and Prime Minister Netanyahu made with Abu Mazen and his former Yasser Arafat. But this is after Fatah decided that he will no longer be a terror group. And this change Hamas didn't do yet. And this change we and you should demand from Hamas to do if we want to be a legitimate party in the region.
But it is a process.
Don't do discounts to them.
It is, President Mahmoud Abbas wants to get Hamas in his circle, in the moderate circle. And
as a terror organization or as a political party?
No, as a political, but we can't get rid of the situation in Gaza Strip in one step. It is a process. We want Hamas to go gradually, to be moderate, to be part of the political leadership, and the President Mahmoud Abbas continues the negotiation with the Israeli side, and when there is a peaceful agreement, Hamas will accept the decision of the majority of the Palestinian people in any referendum.
Ashraf, just answer me. Do you know any other political party in the world, or in the Palestinian Authority, or in Israel, or in any other part in the world that holds an army and missiles and aiming to kill civilian people?
We don't want it.
Not even the right wing in Israel, and not the left wing in Israel, and not other one. Only Hamas. He's not a legitimate political party.
But it is a Palestinian fact. We can't ignore Hamas. Hamas controls Gaza Strip. Hamas, the second party in the Palestinian political map. It is something that we must deal with it with a very reasonable way. It is not just like to throw Hamas out and to see we can get rid of this situation. We must bring Hamas to the moderate circle of the political making. And
I want the same, but the condition should be that he will become a political party and not a terror group. And if he will dismantle itself from its capability to fire rockets and kill people, and from his will to exterminate the state of Israel, then he will be a legitimate party, which he's not right now, and you shouldn't make discount to them on this regard.
And I want to ask a question to Richard, because as you said, if Hamas does dismantle eventually, can that be trusted? Because as we saw, Israel, there was a report this week that Israel destroyed weapons being stored in Sudan, and this isn't the first case weapons, headed to Gaza. How can that be trusted? How can that be a secure deal?
Well, I believe whatever happens, Iran, who's got their hand behind a great deal of what happens in this area, Iran will not be happy with a Hamas that is incapable of attacking Israel, and Iran will do its best to try and find a way of achieving that. Therefore, it comes down to a number of things. First of all, of course, Israel maintaining its own security around the border areas, some kind of guarantee in relation to the border with Egypt. And the international community's support to pressurize Hamas, and also to interdict the provision of weapons from Iran. Iran, of course, is a very malignant influence in everything that happens here.
Well, we will end on that note. Colonel Kemp, Ashraf Al-Ajami, and חיליק Bar, thank you all for being here this evening. And that does wrap up this special edition here on I24 News. Thank you very much for watching.